Let's talk about SADC, this alignment of countries in Southern Africa and the reaction, the action or non-action in response to what's happening in Mozambique. We're joined by Prof Adriano Nuvunga from the Center for Democracy and Development in Maputo in Mozambique. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us. Firstly, I mean, now we're talking about technical assistance after this Troika meeting, but there's been no official call from Mozambique to its neighbours to come in, guns blazing, as it were, militarily. Why is that, firstly?
Well, I think the outcome of the summit to immediately deploy a technical mission, it's a balanced outcome. We look at it as a positive. Remember, Maputo has been reluctant to have a SADC involvement. It has been preferring to have a bilateral relationship with SADC member states, and SADC has been pushing, and we commend here SADC, particularly President Masisi, for his robust leadership towards this meeting. So we think that this outcome of having this technical mission, although there was no a clear request from Maputo, it's a positive and perhaps a good step in the right direction.
Yeah. So there was no request for technical assistance, but presumably at this meeting this was discussed, and Mozambique is happy with the arrangement.
I think Maputo is happy, and the region also should be happy. The technical deployment has the possibility to thoroughly engage Maputo in terms of needs assessment, and a needs assessment which we believe it will be consistent with what the region itself it can offer. Can the region really to intervene? That is not sure. Having said that, we think this technical deployment should be informed by the detailed nuances of the root causes of this conflict. Because militarization, it can further escalate and perhaps shoot in the wrong direction to what the real root causes to this conflict are, mainly local grievances and also greed by elites in terms of how they have been exploring the existing mineral resources, but also how the promised wealth from the gas, it has until now been benefiting elites without really proper benefit to the impoverished populations.
But Professor, how can a sort of technical agreement where there's some technical assessment being done be responsive to the conditions in Mozambique, where thousands of people are being killed, beheaded, where hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced and reportedly have nowhere to go because Tanzania doesn't want to accept them? Why? You mentioned it, that Mozambique is reluctant to call on its SADC partners to intervene with military strength. Why is it reluctant?
You're absolutely right. But as I've indicated, the dynamics and the root causes of the conflict, they call for precaution, not to militarily intervene, because that it can further escalate. We think that dialogue is important. Dialogue should be focused, number one, on the issue of border relations between Mozambique and Tanzania, and that should be strengthened. And SADC can be an important platform for that. But also, and importantly, SADC can be an important vehicle to mobilize the much needed humanitarian assistance to local populations, and also help Mozambique in a platform of transparency and good governance, foster some socioeconomic approaches, not only to the general population, but particularly focusing on the youth, which at the moment is hopeless and therefore prone for recruitment by some of these violent extremists.
So do you think that Mozambique is worried about being exposed in any sense? Because some analysts say poor people in the north of Mozambique have been left poor. Then you have these incredible gas projects coming in with foreigners coming in, but there's underdevelopment in those areas. Has that played a big role, and is that the fault of the Mozambican government?
Absolutely. This is a clear failure of governance. This is a failure of democracy to ensure that the profits of democracy, they trickle down to benefit local populations. And kind of radicalization, it then takes place with the youth being vulnerable to be recruited. But you have also to take into account that this region is underpinned by all networks of organized crime, including drug trafficking. So without development, with a democracy failure to alleviate people from poverty, then you have all ingredients for this kind of problem, not only to happen, but also to thrive in terms of people at the local level starting to have some sort of disaffection with the ongoing economic developments, which it makes it easy for the youth to be recruited.
Yeah, but for Professor, the current situation is a very worrying one, even if you look at economic development down the line. The insurgents are growing in strength and number because they are taking young boys reportedly and young girls as well. Mozambique seemingly cannot handle the situation. Do you believe that if SADC got together and it was a mutual agreement that SADC would be involved in Mozambique, it could actually deal with these insurgents, because this would also be a test of the region's military strength?
Obviously, this was my earlier point. Does SADC have the military capacity
do you think it has,
deal
Professor?
with the sort of problem that Mozambique is facing in northern Cabo Delgado? This is a question that can only be answered by the technical deployment by the end of this month, when they understand what the situation is and also look at the existing capacity in the region. With this happening,
but Professor,
we of course would like to caution the technical SADC team to look at this as an issue of governance failure, which enables all these kind of criminality, all kinds of extremist violence to take place. So while we are looking into stabilizing militarily the region, we have to importantly move in terms of humanitarian assistance. We have to move in terms of quickly putting in place a socio-economic approach where the young people, they will see themselves better off now compared to joining the insurgents.
All right, continues to sound complicated in the face of an onslaught in the north of Mozambique. Thank you very much for your time tonight, Professor Adriano Nuvunga from the Center of Democracy and Development in Maputo in Mozambique.